Hello, once again, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Emeka, and in this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how I designed and developed an end-to-end data pipeline using Google Cloud, BigQuery, DBT, Cloud and CLI, and GitHub Action. This video is going to be divided into different parts, basically because it's going to be in series. And we are going to have from part 1 to part 7, which will be placed in my playlist in YouTube. And in the part 1 of this video, we are going to be demonstrating how to set up a Google service account, because this service account is what we are going to be using for our authentications when connecting to DBT. And also we are going to demonstrate how we can generate a mock data which we are going to use for this project, and also upload to Google Cloud Storage, because this cloud service account is basically what we are going to use for the authentication with which you can upload this mock data to our Google Cloud Storage. That will be for the part 1 of this video. Then for the part 2, we are going to demonstrate how to create BigQuery external tables, because this is what we are going to be using. I don't want to have a copy of the raw data in Google Cloud Storage in my BigQuery my BigQuery tables. So basically, we are going to be creating these external tables, and these external tables are going to serve as pointers to the raw data in Google Cloud Storage. And in the part 3 of this video will basically be about how to set up our DBT Cloud and develop the models. And the tables that we are going to get at the end of the day out of these models will be saved in our BigQuery. And then part 4 of this video will be about how to deploy the DBT models to production, because every work will be done in development, but we're also going to demonstrate how we can deploy all the changes to production using DBT Cloud and the Git branches. Then the part 5 of it is going to be now doing the same thing we have done in the DBT Cloud in DBT CLI. Because this project, like I said from the beginning, is going to be done using DBT Cloud, and also the transformation will also be done using DBT CLI. So in part 5, we are going to demonstrate how to set up this DBT CLI for our development, for developing our models, which also save the same kind of tables in our BigQuery. And then the part 5 will be how to build the incremental models in this case, and the join data using DBT CLI. So basically everything we have done in DBT Cloud, we are going to replicate them using DBT CLI. Then the final part, which will be the part 7 of the video, will be how to automate the testing and deployment for the DBT CLI models using GitHub Action. So basically how to automate our workflows, testing and deployment using a GitHub Action. So these are the different parts of this video. Like I said, they will be in series, and they will place they will be in series in the playlist, in the YouTube playlist. So now we will start with the first part, which is this: how to set up our Google service account, generate our mock data, and then upload to Google Cloud Storage, because this is going to be our raw data. But before we go into this proper, I need to show how the data is going to flow from the upstream to the downstream, and the transformation layers using the data architecture, which I have designed as well. Now this is the data architecture. Here we have the external data sources. In this case, we are assuming that the data is coming from maybe either, because it's a healthcare data, so we're assuming that it's coming from either Sena or maybe an IoT core. So which will be in different file formats. We'll have the CSV, we'll have the JSON, and we'll have the Parquet. So this will be uploaded to the cloud storage. This is going to be our data lake, and we're going to have 2 folders in this cloud storage: the development and the production folders. So each of these folders will have it in this particular structure. We'll have the bucket name. Bucket name in this case is the healthcare data, and the bucket name contains a dev folder and a prod folder. The dev folder basically is just for our development, and then when it's time to deploy to production, then based on how we design our models, we can have access to the prod data. So in the dev data, we have the patient data, which is a CSV. We have the EHRO data, which is a JSON file, and then we have the claims data, which is a Parquet. Now in production data, we have the same kind of thing as contained in dev data as well. Now, from the Google Cloud Storage, we'll go to the BigQuery. Here we are creating external tables. These external tables are like pointers, taking the data from the cloud storage for analysis, but not storing the data in BigQuery, because we don't want to pay for storage in BigQuery and pay for storage for the same kind of data in cloud storage. So that's why we are using external table in this case. So the next thing is the DBT transformation. So we are going to transform the data that is flowing through these external tables using DBT. And this part we are going to first demonstrate using DBT Cloud, and then later on with DBT CLI. Then the GitHub action is for the orchestration, so basically to automate our workflow. And then here in the BigQuery, now we have a proper tables after the transformations. We now have a proper table in dev and also in production. Dev is basically from the dev folder here in our buckets. That is what we are going to have the transform data here. It's going to be minimal records, while prod is going to be the whole records. And then we are going to have the prod data set. Here in BigQuery, we are going to have two data sets. Data sets in BigQuery is like schemas. So we're going to have the dev and the prod data sets. So the prod data set is going to contain the transformed full data. So this is the data we are going to place our access control on top. Maybe giving access to who is supposed to have access to which particular tables, and restricting access from the other parties that are not supposed to have access to some particular tables. So this is where we are going to be doing that. So this is just the overview of the end-to-end data pipeline, like I said, using Google Cloud Storage, BigQuery, DBT, and GitHub Action. So let's proceed to the next step. So now the next step is to create a Google Service account, and we'll do this by navigating to our Cloud Console, which is where we are at the moment. And then at least before you get to this part, you must have a Google account, and then you create a project. In this case, I have already created a project before, which is a healthcare data project. But if you haven't created a project, then you click on new project and create a project. And then once you have created a project and you are within your project directory, you go to here and go to IAM and admin, and then go to service account. Click on it. Here I already have one account, but you can create one for demonstration purpose. You go to create account, and then you give a name for the service account. In my case, I use data pipeline service account. So this will automatically generate the service account ID for you. And then you provide a description. This is optional, but in my case, I can just provide this service account for managing data pipelines using Google Cloud Storage and BigQuery. This is what the service account is supposed to do for me, and also for uploading my raw data from my source to my Google Cloud Storage. Then you click on create and continue, so that we'll go to the next step. Now we are going to assign roles to this service account, and the roles are going to be one, storage admin to manage the Google Cloud Storage, and then BigQuery admin to manage BigQuery datasets and tables. So click on here. Here we'll search for storage admin. Here we'll have one for storage admin, which grants full control of buckets and objects. So you click on it. Then we'll add another BigQuery admin. So which is this? And then we have given the two rows, the storage admin and the BigQuery admin, and then we'll click on continue. So here it says grant us users access to this service account, which is optional. In my case, I'm not granting any user any access because I'm just working alone in this case. So basically done. So you click on done. So now we have created a service account. This is the one we just created. Now we need to generate the service key. So click on this. I'll click on manage keys. And then we'll click on add keys. Create new key. It has to be in JSON. So we'll say JSON, create. So we have created it and it's here, so we can be able to download it and then maybe place it in the proper folder where we're going to be referencing it later. So now we have created a service account. Now, after creating the service account, the first place you are going to use it is basically for authentication at the point where you are going to create our mock data. So here you can see key file path. I gave the path where I saved the service account we just created, which is in JSON. And then this is the part where we authenticated. So with this, we will now have the right access to save our data in Google Cloud Storage. So here, this is the code with which I generated the mock data. I don't need to explain much here. Here we have the bucket name which we created in Google Cloud, the bucket part, which is the healthcare bucket maker. That is the bucket name. And like I described earlier during the intro of this video, I said we are going to have two folders within the bucket, which is the dev and the prod folders. And for the dev record, we have about 5,000, and for the prod records, we have about 20,000. And then start date, which is about 4 years ago, and end date is at today. Then, in case the bucket is not created, I already have this here function. This function, create bucket function, which basically check if the bucket is not existing, it creates it, but if it's existing, it uses the bucket. So here I basically want to empty the bucket each time I run this script before adding new data to the bucket, because I don't want to have more than the 20,000 records for the production and 5,000 records for the dev. So this function basically helps empty the bucket before adding the new data in case I run the script again. Then this is basically a function that helps upload to the Google Cloud Storage bucket that I just created. It accepts 4 parameters: the data, the path, file name, and the file format. So every other thing is defined here. This is the function that generates the patient data. The number of records is already given because it has to be dynamic because we have for dev and production. So number of record is the parameter here for the generate patient function. Then this part generates the EHRO records. Here we'll have the number of records and the patient IDs as the parameters. And then this part generates the claims records. Here we'll have the number of records and patient ID as well as the parameters. Then this is basically where I call the function. So what to know that here I save this as Parquet, then this one as JSON, and this other one as a CSV. So this is where I call all the functions to make use of them. So this basically, if I run this script now, let's run it Python. Yeah, sorry, I need to activate my virtual environment before running that. So the script is running. And we are done with uploading our raw data to our created bucket. So let's see the raw data in Google Cloud Storage. So we are in our Cloud console. So let's go to Cloud Storage and then go to bucket. So you can see our healthcare data bucket. Let's click on it. We have two folders, dev and prod. So let's click on this. So inside dev we have the claims data.parquet, EHR data.json, and patient data.csv. These all contain about 5,000 records, while the prod, you can see the size is bigger. You have the same kind of data, but with the whole data we are supposed to use for production. So this is all we have in the bucket that we just created. This is where our raw data is. So this concludes our part 1 of this series, and the part 2 will be coming next. If we check the playlist, the part 2 will be under this particular video. So thank you. And for part 2, we'll be talking about how to create BigQuery external tables for data stored in Google Cloud Storage. So basically, we'll be creating the external table for the data we just stored in the cloud storage. So thank you.